Long before I started gardening, there was RuneScape. In 2005, the farming skill was introduced to the game. This is well before other notable virtual farming games such as Farmville and Farming Simulator. Let's take a look and see how well Jagex modeled the farming skill after real life. GreensandMachines.com. RuneScape allows you to grow crops and trees of different categories. We are first going to look at Allotment. For those who live in the United Kingdom and other Commonwealth nations, you would be familiar with this term. But for those of us in the colonies, here is what it means. An allotment is essentially what we in the States call a community garden. It's a plot of land made available for growing plants. If you take a look at how they are positioned in the towns in the UK, you will see that most of the allotment plots are found in areas between neighborhoods where there is less than desirable road access for housing. In RuneScape, the allotment plots can be found outside of walls of several major cities, or flat out in the middle of nowhere, or around other farms. To best compare to real life, the plots outside Catherby and Ardoyne, can anyone pronounce this city name correctly? Represent a true allotment. Now that's not to say that Jagex could be more accommodating to us Americans who love growing their gardens in their home. RuneScape players cannot grow crops in their own houses, but I digress. Let's head down to the plot and start planting. Hey, what's going on here? What is this character doing? Why is she harvesting from this plot of weeds? What's going on? Is this sorcery? Well, this is likely sorcery. Remember that RuneScape is a fantasy world. There's no chance that Jagex could render enough land in the game to individually assign a plot to each player in the game. We have to live with some acceptable wizardry here, as RuneScape is, in fact, just a game. Okay, let's plant some crops. How can I stay in one spot and just harvest all the weeds? More magic? Well, so much for all the physical labor you do while out in the garden. How about planting? RuneScape does allow you to make compost, with 3 different tiers of compost. There's normal, there's super, and there's ultra compost. All generated from crops or weeds, so I guess you can make the assumption that everything in RuneScape is considered organic? Who knows? Let's plant some potatoes. Potatoes can be grown from seed, but most of the time in real life you'd be growing them from tubers or from potatoes you left in your cabinet that have started growing. Those, of course, would make the best potatoes once you actually grew them. How long does it take to grow a potato? In real life, you can typically expect to harvest a potato anywhere from 10 to 17 weeks. And in RuneScape, 40 minutes. How can you grow a potato in just 40 minutes from seed to harvest? Crop cycles in RuneScape are done in growth cycles, which can last anywhere from 5 minutes to 320 minutes. Another interesting thing about this is that cycles occur while you are logged out. So go ahead and sow your seeds in RuneScape, log out, and you can tend to your crops in real life. It's kind of bizarre too. RuneScape doesn't experience any day and night cycles, which in real life are essential to most plants. Why is that? Now let's look a bit more in depth on how each plant behaves, disregarding some of the fantasy aspects of the game's engine. In an allotment plot, you can grow the following crops in RuneScape: potatoes, onions, cabbage, tomatoes, sweet corn, strawberries, watermelon, and snapegrass, which is a RuneScape exclusive crop. Well, let's ignore that one and look at the actual fruit and vegetables. Potatoes, onions, cabbage, and watermelon are what I would consider to be represented well compared to real life. Although I do question why cabbages look like mini cabbages after being immediately sown. They don't usually form that until they're well grown. Sweet corn is a bit questionable too, as each of the stalks when grown have 3 ears. Sweet corn in real life typically only grows 1 to 2 ears per plant. And even when you harvest the plot, you don't even get as many plants as you have stocks, but that's another topic. Strawberries, on the other hand, have quite a few differences in RuneScape to IRL. Although possible, strawberry plants are not typically started from seeds. Gardeners typically propagate strawberries from the runners of existing plants. And after the plants have grown, they tend to remain in the ground after harvesting, as the berries do grow back. Way to go, Jagex! You're making us waste effort removing all of our plants after the harvest unnecessarily. Aside from the wonky growth cycles, I give Jagex a B+ for representing the allotment crops in-game. Let's move on to the flower patch. But first, if you are enjoying this video, consider hitting that like button, and subscribe to Greens and Machines. In the flower patch, you can plant the following: marigolds, rosemary, nasturtiums, woad leaf, limpwort roots, and white lily. Of these, I will discuss marigolds, rosemary, nasturtiums, and woad. Marigolds are commonly grown for not only their pretty little orange or yellow flowers, but their ability to lure away garden pests. Notably, they can lure away pests that attack tomatoes. In RuneScape, they have the effect of protecting tomatoes, potatoes, and onions from disease. Score another for Jagex representing a crop correctly. Rosemary, aside from its wonderful aroma and its uses in seasoning chicken IRL, repels certain critters that prey on cabbages, beans, and carrots. In RuneScape, it protects cabbages from disease. Ding ding ding, another one for Jagex. Nasturtiums are said to repel squash bugs IRL. Squash bugs are said to target vegetables in the squash family and the melon family. In RuneScape, they protect melons from disease. Whew, that's 3 for 3 so far with flowers. Finally, we have woad. Woad is a plant that was historically harvested for the leaves, which produce blue dye. I'm sure you can guess what they are used for in RuneScape at this point. Yes, woad leaves are harvested in-game and are used to make blue dye. So far, Jagex has represented their farming skill with respect to how actual crops behave in real life. But what about the fruit trees? In the fruit tree patch, we can grow apples, bananas, oranges, curry, pineapple, papaya, palm, and dragon fruit. When growing an apple from seed in real life, due to the triploid nature of the chromosomes, they will grow a tree that produces fruit unlike that of which fruit the seed came from. In RuneScape, all the fruit is represented by green apples. Now this is boring, but I guess you can understand why they did that. RuneScape is not primarily an agricultural game, so it makes sense to lump apples in as one crop. The way bananas, oranges, curry, papaya, and palm all behave in-game makes sense compared to IRL. But then we have pineapple. To grow a pineapple IRL, you typically chop the head off a plant and root it into the ground. When it is finished growing a year or two later, it forms a new fruit out of the stalk from the rooted top. Exactly one fruit. How does Jagex represent the pineapple plant? What is this? A pineapple tree? Pineapples don't grow on trees. Why am I getting 6 pineapples off of one plant? You can't justify this. Pineapples don't grow on trees. Alright, I'm done looking at all these RuneScape crops. This is the video, and aside from the obvious game mechanic issues on growth cycles and a few plants mischaracterized, Jagex did a pretty good job in porting garden crops and trees into their game. I'm never gonna let them down though on pineapple trees. How does the game in general compare to real life? The satisfaction from farming in RuneScape and other games like this is nothing compared to growing my own food IRL. If you happen to be a gamer and have never grown a plant before, I definitely recommend starting out. And don't doubt yourself by saying that you kill any plant you touch. Go back outside and try again. Expand your skill set. Thanks for watching this video. If you found this comparison of how RuneScape represents crops in game informative or entertaining, be sure to hit the like button. Also, please subscribe to Greens and Machines too if you want to see me compare how other video games represent crops to IRL. Or if you're into DIY stuff like we do in real life, we appreciate that too. Be sure to check out another one of our videos after this one ends. See you there.